You're essentially here watching television, but it's real time and you can talk to me, which is why you have to be very careful as a creator to not play into that so much. Like, I would imagine SweetAnita in this video and a lot of other people who have dealt with harassment it still is a problem that people are going to harass you and take things to that kind of level. SweetAnita explains Twitch's dark side. Now, I'm interested in this video because I have a lot of experience with a lot of targeted harassment, given the fact on this platform, given the fact that I am gender non-conforming, I am non-binary, I am pansexual, blah, 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 blah. All these different accolades that I have developed, all these trophies that I've gotten in the woke arena. Because of this, I've had a lot of experience on Twitch with targeted harassment. People come in here essentially saying the 14 words of transphobia, also trying to say the N-word. This is the second hate raid I got in a week. This was a couple days ago. And I didn't get a screenshot of the first one, but it was essentially the 14 words of transphobia, you will never be a woman, etc., etc. Now, funnily about that, I'm not trying to be a woman, actually. I'm not trying to be a man or a woman. I'm trying to be an amorphous, amoebic blob because I don't really care about my gender in any specific way. That's why I call myself non-binary. I just don't particularly care about gendered labels. In my opinion, they're not super necessary, so I don't really use them. I just call myself non-binary. I use any and all pronouns. Don't really care about it too much, right? And my sexuality doesn't have to do anything to do with that. But of course, I get shit for that as well. So this was a follow raid that we got, a hate raid, as it were, saying you should jump off Womps Fortress IRL and join the 41%, which is, alluding to the suicide rate for people who are trans. And that suicide rate is not because they are trans, they are committing suicide. It's because society and their immediate community and home life push back against their identities, and that is what causes people to have these certain mental illnesses that you might develop, like depression, antisocial disorders, and stuff like that, or even going so far as to attempting or being successful in committing suicide. It is not because people are trans that they do this, it's because people don't accept them as being trans and push back against them, either by subjecting them to housing insecurity if they're young, getting kicked out of your home if you're a kid, your general work life, people not accepting you, dead naming you, etc., not using the correct pronouns, blah, blah. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes into that, but, that's easy clap to get rid of that talking point. Of course, I blocked out the term here. It's not actually an N. They use a weird character that doesn't get auto-mod clapped by my auto-moderation tools. And obviously, they alternate these different symbols. It's a bunch of different bot accounts. It is what it is. And they say you should jump off Womps Fortress IRL because at the time I was practicing Super Mario 64 speedrun. Womps Fortress is one of the levels in it. Wow, so crazy. So as it would turn out, literally the night after this stream where I watched the video you're watching right now, I actually received another hate raid, but this time from the 4channel board poll. And they decided to raid this video, how Twitch chat helped reclaim Pepe the Frog, because they got mad about frogs for whatever. Nazis get really mad about frogs. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because they're amphibians. Maybe they think reptiles are inferior. They thought that I liked reptiles more because I have the Yi emote in my chat. I don't know. Regardless, these ratios looked a lot worse before, okay? They essentially did the 14 words of transphobia, you will never be a woman, suicide rate, shit, all this kind of stuff. Also talking about, wanting to harass me so much that I kill myself, direct threats of violence like they wanted to kill me. So even literally the night of, what we're talking about in the video you're watching right now, harassment, it's happened again. I just thought that was interesting. I thought I would add that in here. Now, by this point, they helped me with a bunch of free engagement, so their plan backfired. I've got the highest views videos since the reboot of the YouTube channel. The ratio is fixed, thanks to my nice community, as well as Vosh's shout out. So I guess thank you, Poll, for that. Good luck in your attempts in the future to harass me. It seems like I would be willing to take more of that, actually, if this is how it's going to turn out. But regardless, enjoy the video you're watching. Get after it. So for me, I've been on the internet long enough to not really care about any of this shit. I've been on the internet longer than probably the person who decided to do this hate raid has been alive. More than likely. I got into the internet because of RuneScape, back when old school RuneScape was the only RuneScape, and animation forums. That's why I got on the internet to begin with. That was back in 2004, 2005, maybe? I have seen the absolute depths of the internet, none of this bothers me. I see this shit almost every stream. Almost every single stream, I deal with people coming in here, searching for me through the LGBTQIA+ tag, because that's the only tag that I use to that effect. There are a bunch of other ones that you could use. I just use that one because it's all-encompassing, and I have a lot of other tags that I want to use as well on Twitch, so that's what I do. And they come here, and they're like, oh, let's just troll through that. They probably have either they're alone, more than likely, just in general, right? Or they have a Discord server where they'll get a bunch of their friends together, go through the LGBTQIA+ tag, see if they can harass somebody. My theory for this is that they don't really get a lot of attention in their day-to-day life. They don't really get a lot of attention from their parents, from their immediate friend group, if they have any IRL friends, from their family. So what they do instead is they try to substitute that positive attention that they would have gotten from their parents or wherever else they're lacking the attention, and they substitute it for negative attention from a random streamer trying to get, you know, some kind of a rise out of the person there and getting, you know, fun at, you know, SJWs getting triggered, right? That's my idea for why they do this. Now, if you are someone that does this, no amount of negative attention from an online content creator who will not even think of you like a hour after you've done whatever you've done in their chat will be enough to substitute the fact that your parents did not love you adequately when you were younger or, you know, presently, right? It's not going to be that way. You have to do a lot of work in your real life to try to repair your relationships with your family, with your friends, etc. That's something you have to do. You cannot substitute that. It doesn't work that way. If negative attention was all somebody needed to feel good about themselves, we would not have a lot of issues like this. But there are still issues. People still feel the need to do this. And that's not to say that all the people that do this are looking for attention because of attention deficit in other areas of their life. But I'm willing to bet that there's a lot of them out there that do that. There are, you know, some genuinely fucking annoying people that just have fun spending money on follow bots and, you know, allowing people to generate clout on Twitter as a result of it. Like, literally all this did to me was give me extra Twitter clout, let me watch a video in the middle of my Super Mario 64 speedrun practice, which was very chill. We watched a video of a person building an aquascape for their fish with a planted aquarium with, you know, like actual live plants and ecosystem within it. It was pretty chill. I just banned everybody that was there, put it in sub mode for a little bit to stop the messages, and then I got 330 likes on Twitter. Thank you, I guess. It really doesn't do anything to me. But I do absolutely empathize with the people that it does affect. I absolutely empathize and sympathize with the people that are affected by it negatively, especially a lot smaller streamers. Right now, I'm like a 70 viewer Andy on average. Most of my streams, it's around 70 viewers that I'm going to get on average. So I have a lot of people in this chat room that, if there isn't like a follow bot like this, which is just meant to flood the entire screen, but even if it's just a couple people that come in, we just have a bunch of people in the chat ready to go up to bat, flex their muscles, and, you know, basically drown them out or just entirely ignore them, which is what we do most of the time. So thank you for that, chat. Appreciate that. You can flex right now if you'd like. But for streamers that don't have a lot of people in the chat, especially people who are new to streaming, which, you know, if we don't have a lot of viewers, it's likely you're newer, though that doesn't always have to be the case. It could be a lot. Especially if you have already experienced a lot of harassment in real life as a result of your identity, as a result of your sexual orientation. Luckily for me, you know, my brain works in different ways, so even though I have experienced a lot of negative things in regards to, you know, how feminine I am, how my sexuality, my gender identity, all that, it doesn't really bother me too much. But that's just me. I'm just lucky, because that's not everybody's experience. So I sympathize. But regardless, I say all this to say that I get a lot of targeted harassment on this platform. It seems like Twitch is aware that that people are hate rating nowadays, but I don't know how much they can do. There are some ideas. Trihex actually had some ideas. I don't know if I'll be able to find them. I don't know how much this guy's tweeting. Ah, that's right there. Nice. So this is just a quick idea that he's thrown together. So Trihex says, I advocate a two-factor authentication. Toggle be added. Only 2 FA accounts can send messages. Add a separate option for broadcasters to choose if any posts from non-2FA bots get deleted upon toggle as well. We know Twitch logs this because emotes are granted dependent on 2FA status. Stuff like this. This minimizes the trauma of reading all this trash, cleans it up quickly for those without large mod teams, and seems like a low-lift, high-impact type of action that could help the most vulnerable at this time. Now, that being said, this is a theorized solution by Trihex. There are other options out there, like FossaBot, Posada bot, other bot like automod options that can help. The biggest help that you would need essentially is to be able to nuke a phrase. So, for instance, for what I was looking at before,
SweetAnita.
I could just take XY chromosome with a K, gang, and nuke that phrase in specific, and it would delete every single message instead of me having to go through and ban everybody individually, right? So I'd probably still have to put it in sub mode for a little bit, but actually, no, maybe you wouldn't, because it would just automatically ban people who post that phrase. Regardless, stuff like that does exist, but it's a third-party thing that you need to, it's just a third-party thing. I don't know, man. You have to go the extra mile to get it. This should be a standard thing that Twitch offers. Regardless, I say all this to say that I know that SweetAnita has dealt with a lot of harassment on the program. SweetAnita, for those of you who don't know, is a variety streamer on Twitch. She has Tourette's and is very open and vocal about it. She's an advocate for people being more aware and understanding of people that do have Tourette's. And as a result, you could imagine being a woman on the internet, being somebody with Tourette's on the internet, you could, be subjected to a lot of harassment. Also, she's very pretty. So, of course, women, regardless of how pretty they are, will be harassed on the internet, but being pretty, definitely heightens the scale. She's apparently had stalkers in real life and has repeated problems with it. So I've never experienced that. I've never experienced stuff like that. Now, because I live with Vosh, I do have to be very careful, and, just being on the internet in general, have to be very careful about, letting personal information get out there, stuff like that. We take a lot of steps to make sure that personal info does not get leaked and stuff like this, especially considering we do political content. People who don't do political content still get a lot of it. People who do political content get even more of it, because people are very excited to, be militant in regards to their ideology if the person they don't like has a different one. Regardless, I've not suffered anything close to what I think we're about to hear about in this video, but I wanted to preface that with even someone like me, who is like a 70 viewer Andy, gets a lot of this shit constantly in the chat room. So you can only imagine what a bigger streamer would get. So let us go. This is The Score Esports. SweetAnita explains Twitch's dark side.
Anita is a popular Twitch variety streamer with over 1.7 million followers, and while she does have a positive fan base supporting her, she's also spoken out about the abuse, stalking and threats she's received from some of the people that watch her. She's discovered an entire Reddit community dedicated to sexualizing otherwise innocuous images and videos of her. She's even had a stalker sleep outside of her house and assault her. For Anita, she's found many good things in her streaming career to date, but the darker side has been undeniable and prevalent for most of her time on Twitch. SweetAnita is an English streamer who began her Twitch career in 2018 and quickly grew in popularity thanks to her gaming content and openness about being a streamer with Tourette syndrome. In fact, it's this unique combination of gaming and involuntary tics that have helped endear fans to Anita over the years.
This is true. So I've been in SweetAnita's chat here or there. I'm not very active in the chat, but I've seen some of her streams, and she has a command that basically says it's okay to laugh. So you would wonder, for somebody who has Tourette's, and that now not everybody with Tourette's will have this take, right? SweetAnita herself says that it's okay to laugh if the tic is funny, but in general, I would imagine you would have to have, a person's okay who has Tourette's for that kind of idea. So don't automatically think that that's okay. Regardless, for Anita's case, she says it's okay to laugh, and because of that, a lot of the content that people like from this channel, while she's very positive about the fact that she has Tourette's and is a pretty good advocate for people understanding it better, it does, produce a lot of funny clips like this, and has actually helped her a lot outside of her regular content, like the regular content ideas that people would have to have more of a unique, spin on things. And using that and, with your advocacy is really cool.
There are ways to say you're the other imposter. Just tell us you're the other imposter.
Yeah. I'm the other imposter!
Thank you for believing me, guys. You fools!
What?
No, I'm not the imposter!
The Score Esports spoke to Anita.
Now, that being said, in a game like Among Us, that actually could be helpful, because you won't know, actually, if she, accidentally let it slip, or she's playing mind games and she actually is you wouldn't know. It's impossible to know. 5-head tactics.
Anita back in 2019, and Anita explained that she can see both the funny side and also the difficulties that she's faced from her condition.
Yeah, totally fine. I'm a tiny little woman screaming at the top of my lungs about a dick I clearly don't have. Of course that's ridiculous. Of course that's funny. I know it's ridiculous, and I'm perfectly fine with other people seeing it that way too. And to be honest, I grew up being treated quite harshly for my condition, and with no diagnosis and no way to explain what was going on. People treated me as if those actions were intentional, and that was really hard and really scary.
But her candid accounts about her experiences with Tourette syndrome have offered an educational window to thousands online who might be unfamiliar with or misinformed about the condition.
So my stereotype of Tourette syndrome was that it was only swear words, that you always shouted them, that it couldn't ever be complex. And the things that I was doing when I was alone were complex. Sometimes I'd sit there and I'd just go, I killed 52,000 men. And that doesn't seem to fit with the idea of someone just shouting one random word over and over.
If you wanted an interesting idea about the stereotype of Tourette's, there's an old South Park episode, if anybody remembers, where Cartman pretends to have Tourette's because he noticed that a kid who actually had Tourette's was getting a lot of positive response to it. And eventually, you know, it's South Park, a lot of crazy shit goes on that maybe not even, it's probably not the best advocacy for, you know, people understanding Tourette's. But that's, I think, a good example of the stereotype of what people think Tourette's is. Essentially, you just, like, people with Tourette's just scream curse words, and it's awkward because it's in situations where you wouldn't expect it, blah, blah, blah. And the Tourette's guy, yeah, the Tourette's guy from YouTube, I actually don't know if that person actually had Tourette's or not. Tourette's guy, that's a boomer reference. Holy shit. That is a boomer reference. People still quote this to this day. Fuck Salt.
Fuck Salt!
Yeah, exactly. Chalkweed knows. Does anybody know if he actually had Tourette's? Or was he just, like, doing it as a character? Do we have to cancel Tourette's guy in the year of our Lord 2021? I don't know. Regardless, this is a deep fucking cut.
Does it taste alright?
It's pretty good. Who's that
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, chill. I forgot. Listen, I forgot that was that clip. All right, Twitch, chill. It's in context. He has Tourette's. He had it for real? I see. Anyway, yeah, back to this video.
And I didn't know why. When I interact with animals, when I'm caring for someone, I don't tick as much. When I whistle, I don't...
Least homophobic 2007 YouTube video. True, though. Unironically true.
tick at all. And when I focus and fixate on something without distraction, the ticks go away.
If you tune into Anita's stream on any given day, you're usually met with gaming, chatting with her viewers, or reactions to videos. By any measure, Anita has a popular variety stream where she and her viewers just have fun. But Anita also hasn't shied away from talking about the negative experiences she's had from streaming on Twitch. There are those who watch her stream who only bring harm, people who have sexualized her against her will, threatened her, and even stalked her, sometimes
So this will happen a lot. It does happen. So to start at the people who it happens the least to, but still happens to, are cis white men. Cis white men are obviously, you know, we can get into sociology if you want, but they get the least amount of harassment like this. Because, you know, you're seen as the default, you can make fun of their appearance, maybe you can, like, I don't know, be woke in the opposite direction and make fun of the fact that they're white. Usually the types that are going to harass people are not like that, though, and that's not really a lot of people that would do that anyway. Like, even me struggling to find ways how, like, regular, like, cis white dudes would be harassed tells you a lot about how infrequently it happens and how, like, meaningless it kind of is. Now, there are people who have had, like, stalkers who are men, who are white men. Like, it does happen, but not nearly to the same extent. Feminine people in general, it doesn't even have to just be women. Of course, women are the demographic that are the most likely to express themselves in the feminine way. Society sees that as the default for women, even though that doesn't have to be the case. But even feminine men, even feminine non-binary people, essentially femininity, because it's been fetishized in society, is met with a lot of this resistance and harassment, regardless of the sexuality or gender orientation of the person who happens to be exhibiting those characteristics. So, me, for instance, I am gender nonconforming. You know, I dress in a pretty feminine way, not a super feminine way. I don't wear makeup yet because I'm lazy, but You know, I wear my hair long, I wear chokers. This is kind of like a necklace and a choker. It's a little bit of both. I wear, you know, I'm wearing fucking leggings right now. Wear thigh highs on occasion. I wear form-fitting clothing. I'm small. I'm hairless. I don't shave. I just don't have a lot of hair because of my genetics. And as a result of this, even though my voice is deeper and bassier and nicer than most of the people that are going to be harassing me about how I look, even though all of that is the case, I still get a lot of harassment. And a lot of it is usually targeted around the fact that I am trans. So I am a non-binary person. I do not identify with the gender I was assigned at birth, therefore I am trans. And because of this, I get a lot of comments like, you will never be a real woman, even though I'm not trying to be a real woman. Or like the 14 words of transphobia, which is like, you are a twisted, you know, creature molded by science and corrupted, blah, blah, blah. I'm not on any hormones. I haven't had any surgeries. I have no intention to. That's not to say that it's a bad thing if you do. That's just, for me, that isn't the case, but that's the understanding that these people have. They think that that's the case. They think that I'm doing all this shit. And even if you are, there's no problem, but they think it is. Regardless, I still get shit like this. It's just femininity, man. I've been a big proponent for a long time because whether I wanted to call myself or not, I am a femboy. That's what people are going to call me. Even people who are less feminine than me are called femboys just because of society. Because people have decided that that's the meme term for any assigned male at birth person who happens to be vaguely feminine. As a result of that, and because of femininity and femboys are horribly sexualized and fetishized, I deal with it a lot. And you know, of course, women get the brunt of it because they're the biggest demographic to exhibit femininity, and it's a big problem. And I don't know. I hope I'm ranting at this point, but I hope we can fucking do some shit about it, man. Oh, and I will say, and I've said for a long time, if you're interested in femboys, right? If you like the idea of men being very feminine, or even just a little bit feminine, there are a lot of men out there that I would wager. A lot of people have told me this in DMs, in chat. I'm a dude, right? But I would like to dress more femininely, right? But if I do, people are going to think that I'm like an uwu cum slut sub when that's not me. I don't like that assumption of me. Like, I happen to be a top or I'm a dom or whatever. And because the association with femininity is, you know, a sexual object to be conquered by a man, that extends onto feminine men and femboys, whoever matches that aesthetic descriptor. And as a result, people are less likely to try to step out of their comfort zone and try to dress more femininely. It's a problem. If you like femboys, stop fetishizing them. Very easy. The destigmatization and defetishization of femininity helps literally everybody. It helps women the most, and women have been fighting that fight for longer than, you know, recorded history, I'm sure, because they're the primary demographic. But now that men being more feminine is starting to become more and more accepted in society, this is a fight for us now too. Now, we do need to show some respect for the women who have been paving the way, the feminists who have been paving the way to destigmatize femininity, or rather defetishize femininity. But, you know, that's all I'm saying. Stop being fucking weird, man. Stop with these assumptions. Stop with the stereotypes, man. It's lame.
Life. In an interview with the
Sorry for the rant, by the way. We are only 3 minutes in.
Post, Anita talked about stumbling upon a subreddit which stated it contained not safe for work pictures of her. She was naturally confused because she'd of course never streamed without clothes on. Most of these images and videos have been taken from Anita's stream at seemingly innocent moments, her getting up from a chair or walking away from the camera. But these people had screenshotted the moments where they could see any part of her body and shared them with each other in a sexually suggestive manner. Some had even manipulated the images to make her clothes appear transparent or had photoshopped her into pornography. And this online behavior—
shit is insane. That shit is fucking weird, man. I feel like there should be some regulations around that. Because, like, revenge porn is illegal in a lot of places. And if you don't know what that is, essentially, if somebody has sent you consensually nudes in the past, and, you know, perhaps they've wronged you, maybe you were in a relationship and now you're no longer in that relationship, and you post their nudes online to get back at them, that's called revenge porn. You can get in trouble for that legally in a lot of places. So we already have ideas like that. I would imagine, like, photoshopping somebody into, like, a pornographic context, incredibly weird. A big overstepping of boundaries. Very, very, what's the word? A really big intrusion of somebody's privacy, especially if people aren't aware that it's photoshopped, right? Like, imagine somebody photoshops you into a porn, or like deep fakes you into a porn, and then your family somehow sees it, and like you have to explain to them, right, that that's not actually you. Like, it can cause problems with your employment as well. I don't know, it's fucked.
has also spilled out into the real world. In 2019, she talked openly about a stalker who had spent hours outside of her house and had assaulted her before being caught and detained by the police.
The other day, some shopkeepers had to intervene and kind of hold him back while he chased after me, because he waited outside my house, followed me into a shop, then waited for me outside the shop, and when I told him to leave me alone and asked if he had a knife, he didn't respond. When I said, "Are you going to let me walk home alone?" he said yes, and then when I went across the road, he started chasing, and two guys ran out the shop and grabbed him, and then grabbed hold of the gate to another area of town, and so I went through the gate, and they held it closed so that he couldn't pass them and continue to follow me.
Good on them, by the way. Good on those dudes. If you see some shit like this and you have the ability, if you are able-bodied, you are putting yourself in harm's way, because you, as the dudes who helped Anita in that situation, you don't know if that person has a weapon. I do believe that SweetAnita is in the UK or whatever, so knives are a concern there, guns aren't as much. But in the US especially, you don't know if that person has a gun, you don't know if they have a knife, another weapon, so you are putting yourself in harm's way, but, you know, these are considerations you have to make, and if you can help people be more safe when you notice that people are being weird, it is incredibly, incredibly a good thing to do.
I spoke to Anita, who told me that far from this being a recent thing, the unwanted sexualization and abuse she's received has been happening for as long as she's been on Twitch.
Oh,
Yep.
Well, it's not particularly recent. It's just been the whole time that I've been streaming. I've always had people be sexual, push boundaries, and be cruel. And sometimes it's from the angle that, you know, people are like, well, I used to find you attractive, but now you've gained weight, so you've disappointed me and I'm unsubbing. And then there are people who are just like, one day I will find you and I will rape you. Like, it's so extreme and often very just, I don't know, very intentionally cruel. It doesn't seem like people who are just like besotted and hopelessly in love. And I feel like whenever I talk about it, people get upset with me for complaining because they picture that I have all of these nerdy boys that are hopelessly in love with me and I should be grateful for the attention, is the overall response that I get.
Anita told me that she's often been subjected to
unfair... like imagine the response for somebody saying like, oh, I'm the subject of a lot of harassment, and not only that, it's extended into my real and personal life. And people are like, oh my god, but there's all these simps, right, who are giving you money, they're hopelessly in love with you. You're obviously, because you're a woman on the internet, pandering for their attention because you know it'll get you money, even though that usually isn't the case. There are some creators out there who do, in my mind, get a bit problematic with the parasocial elements of what live streaming is in regards to stuff like that, but a lot of the time, that's not the case. That's so shit, and it's a big indicator of the culture and the way people perceive these issues.
Accusations of playing the victim card, that speaking out about it has often been met with overwhelming disgust and distrust. For most people watching this, Twitch is just entertainment, a screen where you can go and watch your favorite content creators at any hour of the day. But it's sometimes easy to forget that for full-time streamers, this isn't just a place they dip in and out of purely for fun. In many cases, this is their full-time job. Their stream is their work.
If you were experiencing this level of abuse in any other job, people would say quit, people would say sue, people would say this is horrible. But if you are a content creator, it's expected that you should be willing to and able to endure this level of harassment every single day.
When it comes to abuse and streamer safety, Twitch has a page on their creator camp where they discuss the moderation and safeguard tools that streamers can use. These tools are supposed to give creators the confidence that, quote, when they stream on Twitch, it will be a positive experience, adding that they take the responsibility seriously as part of their mission to make everyone feel welcome and protected. These tools include auto mod, chat rules, moderators, timeouts, and bans. But the most...
It's really difficult for those to have a massive impact, though. You can try your best yourself or with your mod team, if you have one, to try to moderate a lot of these issues away. But, I don't know, it's to do with the line of work that you're in, unfortunately. Being a live streamer, in most instances, means that you're making a lot of parts of your private life public, almost by definition. You are here live. This is not a pre-recorded video, unless you're watching me on YouTube. This is not a pre-recorded video. I am live right now. You're essentially sharing several hours of your life, however long you're live for, in real time with people, your personal life kind of becomes your public life. And as a result of that, like, celebrities have had to deal with this for a long time. Like, people, you know, movie stars, etc., have had to deal with this for a long time. Crazy fans, you know. The term stan, which is now used to refer to people who are like really big fans of somebody, originated from Eminem's Stan song about a crazed fan who killed himself, his pregnant wife, and his unborn child because Eminem wasn't getting back to him quick enough in the messages that he would send through mail. And that's not like the only example, obviously. This has happened for any public person. Even politicians have to deal with this stuff. It's just that when you're a live streamer, there's the added element of you're literally interacting with a person in real time through the chat room. It's a much more intimate experience and has a lot more potential for parasocial relationships to develop that can potentially turn into very negative things. For me, I try to be the least parasocial as I possibly can. Anybody in the chat knows this. Anytime people give me money, I don't know how to accept it. I don't say I love you or stuff like that to my viewers or people that, you know, chat with me. I try very carefully to not accentuate the parasocial aspects of this line of work, but it happens anyway. Like, whether I like it to or not, there are going to be people that attach themselves to me and think that we have some kind of a friendship, that thinks that we have some kind of a relationship past you being a consumer and member of the community and me being the content creator that gives you the content that you're watching. That's what this is. You're essentially here watching television, but it's real time and you can talk to me. That's the level of disconnect. You don't expect that you have a relationship with, like, Tiger Woods because you watch him on TV, on ESPN during the PGA Tour, right? That's not how that works. But because of this line of work, it becomes a much more personal thing, which is why you have to be very careful as a creator to not, you know, play into that so much. And even if you are incredibly careful, like I would imagine SweetAnita in this video and a lot of other people who have dealt with harassment it still is a problem that people are going to harass you and take things to that kind of level. It's really difficult to deal with. Live streaming is a very new thing. It's a very new industry. As far as I'm aware, the longest ago that I remember live streaming being a thing that I watched was when Twitch.tv was called Justin.tv, and I was watching StarCraft 2 players play StarCraft 2. And that was like in, I don't know, 2007, 2008. And now people are creating entire careers off of it, which is awesome, in my opinion. It's a really cool way to make money, which is a thing you need to survive in this society, doing something that you love, sharing parts of your interests and hobbies that you love. It's a really cool thing. It just comes with this negative side that we would hope the platforms that allow you to do this, YouTube and Twitch, would have a lot of tools to use to safely, you know, push back against a lot of this. And you would also hope that on a state level and a federal level, you might have some protections for this as well. Depending on where you live, you can talk to your sheriff's department or your sheriff's deputy or whatever, the sheriff's department of whatever city you're in. If you have problems with swatting, for those of you who don't know, people will say that you have a certain like thing going on in the house. They try to get the SWAT team to come to you. The idea behind that is either you inconvenience the streamer live on stream, or you literally get them killed if that's your objective, which can happen. There was a famous case a long time ago about somebody who swatted a guy because they had a disagreement in Call of Duty, I think, and they ended up going there and they killed the guy that was swatted. There's a lot of bad things that come from that. But a lot of cities have now become more modern in their legislation, or rather the policies that they have, where you can actually talk to the sheriff's department and tell them, hey, I'm a public figure, I'm a content creator. You may receive, you know, fallacious accusations about me. Here's my information. This is why this is likely to happen, etc. And they have ways you can protect yourself. But we're not at the point where we can do everything to be as safe as possible because of how new the industry is. You say conure, which is like the same thing. Well, it's just, listen, we can only do so much, all right? Conure is a way for everybody to show their wholesome support for people, okay? There's a little Peppo bird holding a heart. It's similar, I get what you mean, but it's not like I'm literally talking to you directly saying, I love you, viewer, your mom, 69420, okay? I don't do that shit.
These tools can do is to allow a streamer to deal with one account, not the actual person behind that account.
And you can have moderators who can remove people who are being overtly sexual or being cruel, but the problem with this is they can just make a new account and do it over and over again. So it's one of those things where you have to be able to be the kind of person who can read those things and see those things every single day for hours non-stop and pretend it's not happening and still smile and still laugh and still be entertaining. And that's one of the reasons why it's harder to be a woman on any content creation platform, because in general, men usually don't have to face this type of harassment on top of the typical kind that all streamers get.
And
she says typically there because I would imagine she's aware that feminine men also deal with this. Men that are from a marginalized background, be it race, sexuality, gender orientation, gender nonconforming people do have to deal with this as well and deal with the harassment as well. And on top of that, they have to, especially if you're trans, deal with a lot of stuff in regards to, transphobia, or if you happen to be black or brown, deal with racism on top of that as well. So it's an unfortunate position, but it's absolutely true that women do have a worse time on the platform and are subjected to way more harassment than anybody else.
A great point. People's natural reaction when abuse or sexual harassment happens on a platform is that it's the platform's responsibility to stamp it out. And this is true to an extent. Twitch said they had a responsibility to make their platform safe. But to add to that, in my conversation with Anita, she talked about the problem going beyond any individual platform.
So there's no specific platform online where I would point at them and go, you're failing us, because it's a universal problem that applies to anything online. So yeah, I don't hold the platforms responsible. I feel like it's the law, and I know this because stalking victims in general get no justice. Usually if you're being stalked, nothing's going to happen. Many people get murdered by the person they've been stalked by.
Yeah, like it seems to be the case that the police exist only to deal with what happens after the stalking reaches its apex, right? Like, there's no preventative justice in a lot of these cases. It's just that, okay, we're aware that you have a stalker. Now the stalker has killed you, and now we're there to try to, figure out what went wrong, what happened, etc. There doesn't seem to be a lot of safeguards to stop the worst case scenario from actually happening.
Reported to the police multiple times. Like, the thing with it is that you're powerless and there's no change to be had unless there's punishments for behaving this way. If you sexually harass anyone in any other workplace, there can be prison, there can be fines, there can be justice. But this isn't possible here until the law catches up.
Of course, it's...
And that being said, it's the same for, what are those... What is the term for this? A restraining order, yes. For a restraining order, there is only so much that can be done by the police, apparently, in regards to people who get a restraining order on a person and then somebody violates it. Now, if the person does violate it, you call the cops. I'm sure they could see like legal repercussion, but a lot of the time it just ends up being the case that the restraining order is violated, and then the worst case scenario happens where somebody faces abuse or is murdered, etc., and then the cops can use the restraining order as additional evidence to try to convict the murderer, rather than the restraining order being a mechanism to stop the worst case scenario from happening to begin with. Plus, restraining orders are often difficult to get in the first place. I've had to get one and it's stupid dumb trying to get one. Yeah. So like a lot of people would be like, forehead, just get a restraining order, forehead, lol. It's not that easy.
It's really important to note here that it's not the responsibility of streamers like Anita to propose a legal fix for these problems, just as it's not the responsibility for a victim of any other kind of abuse. This is clearly a wider issue that can't just be fixed with ban buttons and timeouts. And while these issues are deeply concerning to many people, Anita was clear with me that she speaks up with a sense of hopefulness, that she has good intentions which shouldn't be met with anger.
It's still a really fun place to be. There's still amazing people here. But like, I critique it hopefully. It's a form of optimism that makes me speak up. But yeah, you often get backed into a corner, and then it becomes all you are to people. The only time they ever hear from you or see your content ever being promoted is when you're supposedly complaining about men, is how it's perceived. And then that hurts you as a content creator because it's not fun, it's not really promotion, it makes people really defensive, and it generally just makes gamers angry at you. So even though I'm doing it with good intentions, wanting, people to mingle more, wanting more women in gaming, wanting it to be safer and happier, I'm being treated like I'm exploiting someone, lying about someone, exaggerating things. And it's just, I would love an opportunity for this to be a discussion that's beneficial for everyone involved, rather than it being a sacrifice that women have to take on, because essentially that means that we're taking responsibility for these people's behavior. They don't get any negative consequences. They just get a ban, they make a new account, it continues. For us, it hurts our viewer count, it hurts our wages, it hurts our reputation, it hurts people's view of us, and it's stressful and exhausting. And so I just wish, that it wasn't us who bear the burden of these people's bad behavior anymore.
It's interesting too, because for the I know this is the incel, contradiction, or the incel paradox. Also, I'll acknowledge you guys in a moment.
Read the room.
Flirty corn gifted a tier
1 sub to Zoya_canned.
I know it's the incel paradox, but you want more, the dream of a lot of people is to be oh my god, I want a lot of dudes anyway. I want more women to play video games with me because that sounds so cool. Imagine having a video game playing GF where I can, play video games with her and then we can have a fun relationship and, blah, blah, blah. And then when there are more women in gaming, you start reading about, oh my god, women in game, it's all about, games, journalism, and, integrity, and then, Donald Trump gets elected, and everything falls apart, man. God damn it. It sucks. Anyway. It was a heavier video. This is probably going to be a topic that is the heaviest that we've covered on the YouTube channel. But I hope it's been illuminating to some people who may not have, understood just how bad it can be. Because, even me, a 70 viewer Andy, does experience targeted harassment on a day-to-day basis every time I'm live. It's very rare that I don't have a stream where there are not people being transphobic in the Twitch chat, where people aren't being, they aren't being weird and homophobic and stuff like that. It's just how the platform is, unfortunately. And until there's more things we can do, societally, perhaps legislatively, and even, platform by platform, even though it's not a platform-specific problem, because like I said in the video, it happens on every platform, then we might be able to, progress into a future where it's not as much of a concern. This video is Conure Callout as Jacob. Thanks for the support. Hope your friend enjoys their tier 1 sub to my Twitch channel. If you'd like to be the next Conure Callout, all you gotta do is follow me on Twitter at ConureCC and retweet my video links when they go live. Thanks again for-
Shut the fuck
up! I can't believe this shit. Thanks again for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't get mad about frogs. It's bad for your health.